Hello there, my name is Tuppence. I got this lovely set of stamps free with a magazine and it's perfect for me to use this week. I'm still working with a fruit theme and this has got some slices of, I don't know whether oranges, limes, lemons, they can be anything like that. I'm going to use them as lemons and I want to make a tray that I can stand my oil bottles on top of in my kitchen. So I've chosen 3 stamps from this set and I'm going to use them to create a pattern on my mould. Now you can use them as inlays because they're like silicone. They're actually a polymer stamp, but they work like silicone. But I want to use them as stamps. I've got that half slice, that quarter slice and a mint leaf. And I'm going to stamp these onto my mould to create a pattern. Sorry, I don't know what that is on my finger. So besides my stamps, I'm going to need a mould. I'm using this tray mould, which I got from Temu, and some chrome powders. These are from the 10 powder set from Let's Resin. I'm just going to use the green and the gold. I've been using these powders a lot lately. They're really strong and they give such a fantastic metallic effect. So I'm just going to take a soft brush and I'm going to brush the powder on top of the stamp and make sure that it is fully covered. It's not the best idea to do it over the top of the mould, but I do want to show you what I'm doing. So I just want to make sure that I've got all of that covered. There we go. Now I'm not going to use a stamping block to put this down. I'm just going to use my fingers. So I'm going to place that down on top of the mould and then put my finger down. And I'm always going to keep one finger in contact with it. That way it's not going to slide around. So just want to press all the way around. And this mould's pretty soft, so I haven't got the best impression because the mould dipped down. So just get rid of the excess by blowing on it. Yeah, I do need to do that one again. I'm not going to worry about that for a minute. I'm just going to show you on another part of the mould. So I'm just going to recharge this by brushing a little bit more powder on. There's a lot on my brush and it's going everywhere. Okay, just get that painted on. Tap off the excess. Right, if I do it here, I've got some support underneath. So again, keep one finger in contact with the back of the stamp and just press gently all the way around. That's a lot firmer. There we go. That is a perfect impression. Love that. So yeah, I might need to support some of these areas. So I'm just going to keep going around the mould. I'm going to brush some more powder on each time. That way I make sure I've got a really good amount. I'm going to do a little bit hanging off the edge of the mould. I don't want to take it around the sides, but I do want it to look like it's a pattern that goes all over the base of this mould. The inside tray. There we go, that's another perfect one. Right, let's try this quarter slice. So again, pick up a lot more powder. It sticks so well to these stamps, it's brilliant. And I'm going to pop that one down here. The hardest thing about this is trying to be random. I'm going to clean up the mould in a minute and then I can clean up those specks and I'll take away that one as well and redo it. That is another good impression. Now it doesn't look like I've got a full impression, but actually that's part of the stamp. So that little bit is a dip in the stamp. I don't know if that's a flaw or a design. Before I go any further, I'm going to clean up my mould and get rid of these excess bits of mica powder. So I'm just using a baby wipe. That's coming off really easily. And I can even get rid of that one that didn't work out quite so well. I'm going to need to let the mould dry off before I can stamp again. So I'm just going to take a paper towel and then I'm going to pat dry the top of the mould. So I'm not dragging that paper towel across the surface because even that can scratch it. I'm just dabbing up and down and getting rid of the extra moisture. Now I have got a funny mark on my mould and that has been there for a while. So I don't know if it's something I've done in the past or even if my mould came like that. I don't really remember, but it's got nothing to do with the stamps or what I'm doing now. Once the mould was dry, I could have another go at trying to get that stamp in place. I did move it slightly closer to the side, but as you can see, that mould was still flexing. I was really lucky though, and I did manage to get a good impression. And because I did get a good impression, I was a little slow to realise that I was going to have a problem stamping anywhere in the middle of these sections that weren't supported. So I went ahead and tried again with typical results. It did not stamp well, and that's when I realised, yeah, I'm going to have to support these areas if I want to carry on getting good stamps. Now, I don't throw anything away. This is packaging. If I figure it can be useful, I'm going to keep it. And luckily, this is useful. So this is some foam. I'm just going to cut that to size, and I will even keep these small little pieces. Put double-sided tape on that and you've made your own foam tape. So I'm going to stuff that underneath, and it fits perfectly, lays flat, and that's going to give me more of a solid platform to stamp on. I've got to remove that mistake, so I'm using a little bit of packaging tape to do that. Just press that down and then I can take all of that off in one go, and I don't have to wait for any moisture from the baby wipe to dry. I'm just going to recharge my stamp by painting it again with the powder. Get it all covered. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. And now I can press that in place. That is nice and firm. Gently push it down. And that is really perfect. Okay, while I've got that in place, I'm going to add a few more stamps around this area, and then I can move that around afterwards. So I'm going to do a mint leaf now, and for that I need the green. So I'm not going to clean my brush. I don't mind if I get a little bit of a gradient of colour. It just adds to the whole thing. Well, there you go. So I've got green and gold. That's looking pretty. So let's see how that stamps. Just do it on the edge there. Press that down. That is lovely. And look at the detail that you get. Okay, this is looking promising so far, but I do want a little bit of variation in colour. So I'm going to make this one all green. Make sure that I get enough of that powder on. That looks pretty good. I've got another bit of powder I need to clean up on my mould. Pop this in the corner. I'm going to try and vary the direction I stamp them as well. That is lovely. I'm going to do the rest off camera so that I don't bore you. Alright, so here's my pattern. I love that sheen and the colours are looking pretty strong. But what are they going to look like in resin? I've decided to make some white resin for this one, so I'm going to use the Supreme White Epoxy pigment, and we'll see just how well these show up. But I also want to test another one, so I've done another tray, and I'm going to use some black epoxy for that one, and we'll be able to see which one shows up best. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up my resin, and I'm going to use JDiction's High Gloss. I've gone ahead and mixed up my resin. I've got 140 mils and I've used my Resiners dual head mixer to do that. So now I just need to add some of this pigment. I'm going to pick it up on the end of a micro brush stick. This is nice and thin. And then I can swirl that around in the resin. I'm not going to touch the sides of the cup or my knife. So I'll just keep swirling that around. I'll lift the stick out occasionally, check to see how much pigment is left. And I think that's probably enough. I'm going to get rid of the rest of that on a paper towel, or baby wipe actually. All right, just get that out of the way. And now because I use the machine to mix this, I want to make sure that I scrape the bottom and the sides of this cup and stir this for a good 30 seconds, just to get any of the resin that the mixer might have missed. I let this sit for about 5 minutes after mixing just to give the bubbles a chance to degas. And now I'm going to pour it around the edges of the mould. I'm probably still going to have a few bubbles in there because I didn't put it in a debubbler or anything like that. Right, I think that's enough. So those drips. Right, wipe my hand, and then I'm going to take a micro brush stick and just run that around the sharp edges along the bottom of the mould. I don't really want any bubbles to get trapped in there because that will be very visible on the top of the tray. Go around the outside and the inside a couple of times. And that gives me a good chance of having this bubble free. So now I can just go ahead and pour the rest on top and cover that all up. And I'm pretty sure that 140 mils is going to be enough to fill this up. That looks pretty good. And just scrape everything out of my cup. Don't want to waste any resin. And these knives are particularly good for getting everything out of the cup. I really like them. They're from JDiction and they're usually included when you buy the epoxy. I'm just getting the last little bit out now. I'm going to leave this to sit on this mat and degas for about an hour and a half. That's going to give me enough time to go ahead and make the black one, and then I can put them in the machine together. And as it's getting a little bit late in the day, I'll just leave them to cure naturally overnight. I've used the same set of stamps to create a pattern on the other one, but I want to change this up and add a little bit more colour. So I want to create some polka dots, and I'm going to use this silicone tool to do it. But because this is angled, that won't give me a perfectly round circle. So if I just take this out, and these come out all the time, I can use this end. I was hoping it was going to be a solid piece, but never mind, I'll just have a ring pattern. So I'm going to dip that into the red chrome powder, take a little bit off my glove, and I'm going to use this as a stamp. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to keep stamping and fill in some of the spaces and try and make this look like a cute pattern. Kind of wishing I'd done this on the other one actually. I didn't think about it until too late. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I need to mix up my resin. I'm using the JDiction High Gloss again, and I've mixed up another 140 mils. And I'm going to want to tint this one black. So I'm going to use this Black Indian ink by Winsor & Newton. This is a shellac based ink, so it is waterproof. And I'm going to add that and a little bit of mica powder as well. That is the Arteza Noir. So I just need to get a couple of drops of this ink. Whoops, come on. Does not want to drop off the stick. All right, got a little bit. So I did have a black epoxy pigment paste, but unfortunately the lid is glued on and there is absolutely no way I'm getting it off short of breaking the jar. So I'm going to have to buy some more. But for now, I think a combo of these two will work. So I've just got to get the ink mixed in first. Now there are a couple of inks. You do have water-based inks. Don't think that's a good idea to use those, but this should be fine. All right, that is mixed in. And that is still pretty transparent, so I'm going to put the mica powder in as well. Just enough to make this opaque. Right, get all that mixed through. I have my mould on an acrylic sheet, and that's purely so that I can move this off of my desk once I've filled this up. That way I can work on something else. Again, I've part filled the mould, and then I can take the dotting tool and run that around the edges of that frame and make sure that there are no bubbles stuck along the sharp angles. Let's just give that a quick wipe. Now, because I am going to be moving this over into my G3, I'm not going to fill this up. I'm just going to pour enough resin to cover up that design and the base. And I think that'll do. I've got enough left to top this up after I've moved it. I'm going to put this in my G3 and then I can cure it overnight with the cover on. I'm not going to put the machine on, and I'll be back when these are ready for demould. All right, it is the next day. This is cured, and I'm pretty sure you can see by my mat. Yeah, I had an accident. When I tried to transfer this over, I did spill it a little bit, but it makes these really cool patterns. So I'm not going to chuck those away. I will find a way of using them in resin, even if it is just filler. So I'm just going to keep those. And it's such fun to clean out this tray, but I'll do that later. I'm just now going to get these out of the mould. I'm not going to show you what it looks like yet. So I'm just going to get this out. It's a pretty easy mould to demould. There's nothing difficult about it. That's one. Let me do the other one. And then I can turn them both over at the same time and see what they look like. The moulds are clean, so I'm hoping it's going to show up well. Okay, wow. They are so much better than I thought they would be. The colours are really strong and vibrant. I've got a very tiny air hole there. Not going to worry about that because I'm going to do something else. I've also got some dots of pigment in here. That's what I really don't like about that pigment, is that it just gives me dots no matter how much I mix it in. And I've also got a couple of bubbles. Again, you saw how many times I went round the edge with a micro brush stick, but I don't know. I'll have to spray some alcohol in my moulds, I think. So there we go. I want to use these as drip trays for my oil bottles, which means that I'm going to be washing them quite a lot. So I'm going to be protecting that chrome by giving it a layer of resin, and that will make them, well, they're sealed in. I think they'll be fine anyway, but it will seal everything in. It'll deal with that hole. And besides protecting that chrome, it's going to give me a much better surface because there were some marks on my moulds. So I need to go ahead and get some PPE on and then mix up my resin. I only need a tiny amount of resin, so I'm going to use this resin from Mouldd, as I've only got a little bit left in my bottles. So I've got a cup as well, a medicine cup, and I've marked that up to the 20 milliliter line. So I just need 10 of part A. Try and be pretty accurate when you're using small amounts, and 10 of part B. And because that's a small amount, I'm just going to mix this by hand for 3 minutes. All right, now I am ready to pour. So I'm going to try and put 10 mils in here. Just have a look at that. Almost there. Yeah, almost there. Just a little bit more. Try and divide this equally between the two, because although they are different shapes, they are pretty much the same area. I'm just going to use a brush to spread that all the way out to the side, and then I'm going to let it level out, and I'll keep an eye on it just to make sure that I actually have enough resin. I don't want any fish eyes or holes to appear in the surface. By using the brush to spread this out, I find that I get less bubbles, and there's no chance of me scratching any of the mica or the paint off of my piece. So once this is all spread out, I will clean this brush with some alcohol, and it will be reusable for another time. Okay, I've got a few bubbles on the surface, so I'm just going to pop those with my torch. I'm going to do the same for the black tray, and then I just need to leave these to cure. So I'll be back when I can show you what the final result is like. Okay, they're finished, and I'm really glad that I added that layer of resin on top. It is so much more glossy. And I have to say, it is another score for chrome powders. I knew they were going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good. It looks really great on the white. It looks equally as good on the black, and I'm really loving the pattern on this one. I wish I'd put the red dots on the other one. The only thing I don't like is the mica powder. I wish this was flat black. But just a word of caution, this does not work with text stamps. You cannot stamp on the mould. If you do, your text will be back to front. Otherwise, have fun. I really love these, and I hope that you do too. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share the video if you can, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. It's free to you, it will help my channel, and you can come back and see what I'm going to make next time.